that a massive fraud was committed here. Now, that is something that Sam Bankman-Fried has denied. He has pleaded not guilty to these 7 charges. He said that he didn't intend to defraud anyone or to commit any crimes, and he's admitted to making mistakes. He's actually blaming those very same people who have testified against him for the collapse of those companies.
Okay, but say more about why his decision to testify is risky, and why is he taking that risk? I mean, is the argument that this is the only thing he has left?
I think that that's part of the argument. He's also somebody who has shown time and time again how much he wants to talk and how much he believes in the power of him telling his own story. You know, this is a very rare thing for a defendant to do this. It is not something that a lot of white-collar defense attorneys recommend their clients do, because there's a big potential downside here, and that is Sam Bankman-Fried is going to face cross-examination by federal prosecutors. Tarek Helou is a former assistant U.S. attorney. He says Bankman-Fried shouldn't underestimate how tough that cross-examination is going to be.
He's limited by the rules of evidence in terms of what he can say. And these prosecutors are very, very good. This is not the junior varsity. These are some of the best. And I expect the cross-examination of him to be withering.
Bankman-Fried will face some hard, detailed questions about what happened to those billions of dollars of FTX customer money that disappeared, Michelle.
Okay, so withering. But despite that, one has to assume he's going to be well prepared. He's going to go ahead with it. And, because why? He thinks the upside is worth the potential risk?
Yeah, the upside here is that he gets his freedom. The downside is that he goes to jail for the rest, goes to prison for the rest of his life. So it is fraught with risk, and we'll see here, perhaps it's really today, sort of how effective his testimony is for the jury, again, at the federal courthouse here in New York City.
That's NPR's David Gura. He's outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. David, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
This Support for WNYC comes from the New York Phil celebrating George G. Ligeti. The orchestra spotlights his works through orchestral concerts, recitals, and archival exhibit in a forum inspired by the multicultural influences on his music. More at nyphil.org/LIGETI. Bank of America, offering access to resources and digital tools designed to help local to global companies make moves for their businesses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking for business.
Where does government money start flowing now that Republicans have elected a new leader for the House?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business, helping provide a smarter, easier way to get the supplies businesses need to thrive. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by Charles Schwab. Schwab believes every investor deserves to work with a firm they can count on, with financial consultants ready to serve clients and 24/7 live help.
I'm David Brancaccio. Now that the House of Representatives has a new leader, the chamber responsible for appropriating most funding for the government can turn its attention to all the spending bills piling up. This could, in turn, avert another government shutdown in a few weeks. New Speaker Mike Johnson has an ambitious agenda, as Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer reports.
House Speaker Mike Johnson sent a letter to his colleagues laying out his plans. First, just keeping the federal government open. Congress didn't pass all the spending bills needed to fund the government for the new fiscal year, which began October 1st. So right now it's running on a stopgap funding bill that expires November 17th. In his letter, Johnson said if another temporary measure is needed, it should run through January 15th or April 15th. That would give Congress time to approve the 12 spending bills for permanent funding for the year. President Biden issued a statement congratulating Johnson, but also asking for a vote on his request for about $106 billion for, among other things, aid to Israel and Ukraine, plus border security. Speaker Johnson didn't mention the aid package in his letter, but he told reporters it's, quote, a top priority. Congress also has to pass a new farm bill, setting policy for agriculture and food programs like SNAP. The most recent farm bill expired September 30th. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
News now, the U.S. economy grew at a 4.9% annual rate this summer. That's the fastest growth since the pandemic lockdowns eased in early 2021. A big reason people keep spending, often on experiences, like going to see Beyonce or Taylor Swift. This fits into a softer landing or no landing scenario, even with higher interest rates. Oddly, the 10-year interest rate right now, down slightly, 4.92%. S&P futures are down 0.4%. NASDAQ futures are down 0.6%. Ford Motor Company stock is up 2.4% with a tentative contract between Ford and the UAW that could settle that part of the strike. 17 million households in America, about 13%, struggled to put adequate food on the table at least once last year. The new Household Food Security Report from the Agriculture Department shows that an increase of almost 5 million households from a year earlier is in that statistic, as Marketplace's Kimberly Adams reports.
Several groups saw increases in food insecurity last year, according to USDA. Lisa Davis with advocacy group Share Our Strength says there was a nearly 45% jump for families with children, and
this report comes on the tails of the most recent child poverty report, which showed the largest one-year spike in child poverty rates in history.
All this was avoidable, says USDA Deputy Undersecretary for Food and Nutrition, Stacey Dean.
We saw significant withdrawal in government assistance associated with the pandemic. And as that was pulling back, we see the consequences, which was unfortunately a rise in food insecurity.
And that rise was not even. Jerry Henchy is with the Food Research and Action Center.
So we see twice the levels of food insecurity for Black and Latinx households.
Another group particularly affected, single-parent households headed by women, with food insecurity in about a third of those families. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bitwarden, the enterprise password manager for security and productivity. Easy to use with username and password autofill, biometric unlock, and availability on any device. More at bitwarden.com. And by C3 AI. C3 Generative AI provides ChatGPT enterprise search that is verifiable, secure, and accurate across all enterprise data. C3.ai. This is Enterprise AI. And by the Financial Times, whose distinctive pink pages have reported U.S. news for over 130 years. There's more at fearlesslypink.com.